everybody, welcome back to today's video and another episode of Fix It Friday, where we basically get our lives snatched in a video and we fix makeup problems, debunk myths, and we just talk about things that are just plaguing us. So last week I covered the topic of ashy foundations that give a lot of flashback, and this is really a huge problem, not only for just chocolate beauties, but beauties of all shades. So it was something that was really weighing on my heart to cover into that topic. And speaking of which, since that video seemed to get so much feedback and so many questions from you guys, I'm always getting asked different questions on translucent powders for dark skin, powders for dark skin, so I thought this would be the perfect way to take that video and segue into today's topic. And I need to learn how to slow down and breathe, because let's bring it down here. Okay. Completely sober, by the way, and I don't drink coffee. Today we're going to talk about translucent powders, finishing powders, basically anything that will cover the whole surface area of the face. I'm also going to talk about under eye powders, you name it, I'm going to talk about it. I have quite a few powders that I'm going to be covering. You guys would actually really be surprised at how many options we do have. So I'm so pleased to be doing this video. I'm going to show you which powders are going to be flashback free 100%. As long as you pick the correct shade, you will be fine. These are all powders that are women of color friendly and staple products that I've been using, some more newer than the others, but products that I've really been using consistently that all pass the camera flash test. So I'm going to separate the categories based on like under eye highlight powders, and then I'm also going to talk about all over face powders. Okay, so the first powder that I want to talk about is probably the one that I've been using the longest. This one is the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder. Now, Laura Mercier has two powders that have this exact same packaging. You know that it's the Translucent Loose Powder when you open it, and it does not have that center divider. This is just their, and then I believe the other regular powder is white. This one is kind of like an off-white beige. Beautiful powder, and I like using this powder as an option because some of my concealers are really heavily yellow based, and most of the yellow based powders that I use with my yellow based concealers are a no-go. So I kind of use this to help balance that out. Beautiful on dark skin, super creamy, buttery to touch, a little on the expensive side, but it is a department store brand, so what do you expect? On the lower end spectrum, I have a drugstore one. This is not something that I use under the eye, but it is a white setting powder. This one is from Black Opal. It's the oil blotting. It's definitely passed the camera flash test. It's not really one of my favorites, but if you're exploring the drugstore option, just know that, and this is super, the packaging about this one is what I really don't care for. And the product itself, it's just so. Out of all the powders, this one is okay to me. It doesn't do a great job at controlling oil, but for those of you guys that don't really need anything that controls oil and you're just looking for someone that's going to pass the camera flash test, that would be this one. The next powder are all yellow-based powders or powders that have pigmentation in them. This one is my jam right now. This is the Sasha Compact. I was a little taken aback when I found out they made this pressed because it originally came in the loose formula. Now this one, if you've been watching my channel long enough, you know hands down this is my desert island item. I'm taking it with me I'm not like, I would not use this ever. Like I said, unless it's the exception earlier where I'm using a yellow based concealer, more likely than not I'm using this powder. It's that good. So anyway, they came out with the pressed powder version of this, and this one in my opinion is better for setting all over face setting. I like using it for my smile lines, whereas this one is loose. I just like the idea of using loose powders under the eyes only. I'm just not a fan of setting under the eyes with pressed powders. I can't explain to you why. It's just one of those weird phenomenons where I can show it better than I can explain it. So of the two, I say get both, just because the makeup junkie in me feels like I can tell the way that they perform differently in different parts of the face. But these are both women of color friendly. I would not recommend these two for my light to fair. Well, actually, maybe this one for more light to medium, just because it's yellow. So anytime you're using a product that's darker than your skin tone, if your skin's not yellow, don't use it, period. So yeah, I get asked that question for people that are on the fair side. I would not recommend yellow based powders if your skin is fair. Youngblood is a really beautiful golden. This one is probably the most fine milled out of all of them. It is a gorgeous silk. It's like silky to touch. I mean, you really have to touch this product to understand what I mean. It is literally the epitome. It feels like a luxury powder. It feels velvety. This is the high definition hydrating mineral, way too damn long of a name. It's called Warmth, okay? That's what we're gonna call it. But this one is from Youngblood. I've been using this one on myself and professionally in my kit for about 3 years now. No, that's pushing it. I would say maybe 2, but still long enough to see it, know it performs amazingly well, and I love those. With the exception of the Black Opal powder, all of those powders I listed are safe to use under the eye if you so choose to. Those are all my under eye and translucent powders that I would use for setting, like highlight and stuff like that. Now the rest of the powders, these are going to be your loose powders. These are going to be your pressed powders, whichever you prefer. I personally prefer loose. And I've put them in order from the least amount of coverage to the most amount of coverage, just because I figured that would be easier to help me navigate. So the least amount of coverage on my list is from Bobbi Brown. It's the Sheer Finish Pressed Powder. Literally, this is just your skin in powder. You're not going to get coverage at all. If you have blemishes, color correct, color correct, color correct, color correct until they disappear. Then put your powder on top. You're not going to get any coverage at all from this, but it is a beautiful powder. Does not cause flashback. The shade that I use in this one is Golden Brown. I forgot to, well, I won't really need to name the shades of those, but I'll try to be mindful of the shades of these since these are actual face powders. But this is Golden Brown. Bobbi is the queen of color correcting and shades for dark skin. You name it, she has it. That's definitely a line beauties of color should be looking into. She does a great job at catering to all skin types and undertones, which I think is phenomenal. The next powder is an oldie but goodie. It used to be a staple a lot here on my channel. I don't really use it a lot anymore just because there's so many other good powders. But this is the Mineralized Skin Finish from MAC. I use the shade Dark Deep. They could add a few more shades, but this is a great powder. A lot of people like using this to bronze and to contour, depending on how warm or dark or cool the powder is. But this has been a staple product of mine for years. And if you just so happen to be at MAC and debating on powders to get, you don't know what will look good on your skin tone, I would definitely go for MSF. It's got medium, light to medium coverage. Is definitely on the buildable side. On the drugstore end, the L'Oreal True Match Powder is probably hands down one of the best performing drugstore powders I have tried to date. I love the coverage. You get amazing medium coverage. I've tried the Warmth. I have the Cool. I prefer Cool of the two because Cool, I just feel matches my yellow golden undertones. The Warm, it doesn't look bad, but it definitely has a little bit too much warmth for my skin tone. So, I mean, once I'm done using this one, I will probably just segue on over into the Warmth one, use that up, and then just get rid of it and buy Cool again. I wouldn't buy Warmth again because it just is too warm for my skin tone. But obviously, my skin tone's not the default, so I'm sure someone out there can use Warmth, but I'm just letting you guys know for reference why I choose this powder. Great coverage, no flashback, and super easy to blend. Then I have this one from NARS. This is the Soft Velvet. I use the shade Loose. Not crazy about the packaging, but we're not talking about packaging. We're talking about the powder. It is a quintessential golden powder. So you really have to be careful with what color foundations you pair your NARS powders and foundations with. You cannot mix NARS powder products with everything. I've learned that the hard way. One time, I think I don't remember if I mixed the foundation with the Stila Stay All Day or if I put the powder on top of Stila Stay All Day. But needless to say, a couple hours, I was looking like the color. It was literally like green. So because NARS are so yellow, you really have to be careful what you mix their products with. But hey, they got good powders. As long as it doesn't look ashy, green, that's what filters are for. I can filter that out, okay? Next powder is from Graftobian. This one is a newbie to my arsenal. This is the, what's this called? The Luxe Cashmere HD Setting Powder. I love loose powders because I just feel like you have 3 years worth of product in here for lazy people like me that don't like shopping for a ton of stuff. It's beautiful. This is such a good powder. Great shade range. Well, Graftobian in general, if you're looking for a brand and a line for professionals, that's Graftobian. They are the originators of the makeup game. Then I have a drugstore one. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said Black Opal on that powder. This one, however, they did get right. This one is the Deluxe Finishing Powder. It's got an oil controlling formula. It does pretty good at controlling oil and mattifying the skin. And the shade that I use is dark. And I believe they might have a shade or two down below dark that are darker than these two, than this shade. I'm not sure. You would have to check the stores to double check, but I love this powder. I actually kind of feel like this one is like the drugstore equivalent of Graftobian, just for the way that it feels, the coverage, and the shades are actually quite, no, this one is actually a little warmer. I'm just kidding. They're not identical, but the Graftobian, the Pecan Pie is a little cooler, but yeah, great powder. Like this one is, between this one and L'Oreal True Match, these are the only drugstore powders I fools with. Like, one of the only. And the last powder that I want to talk about today, but most certainly not the least, is my favorite hands down powder of all time for coverage, for finish, for foundation shade ranges, is the Black Up Loose powder. Lord, if the Lord himself was resurrected in a makeup product, it would be in Black Up, because ma'am, this powder is so freaking beautiful. Like I want to try this on its own one day. I want to try this on its own. I started noticing that I like this powder so much when I started branching out and using other powders and realizing that they don't look like, anytime I would use something that didn't look like this, I didn't want to wear it, period. I would just be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to start putting Black Up on top now. It is beautiful, so beautiful. And the coverage, I would say, is light to medium. It's definitely buildable. Yeah, it's actually pretty light. It's pretty translucent. But I think that's what I like about it. I'm not really into a ton of coverage. So if you're going to use a full coverage foundation, if you're going to use a medium coverage foundation, get you a powder that has light to medium coverage so that you don't get that cakey, ghostly white cast. And your pictures are going to be HD ready and flawless. So those are pretty much all of the powders that I have to talk about. I really hope that you guys found this video helpful and got you just inspired into going out and hopefully trying some new products. If you guys have any questions on anything that I listed today, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments down below. I love hearing your comments and getting feedback from you guys and seeing how this series of videos has really truly helped you guys. Thank you guys so much for not only just being so active and involved in it, but for also coming up with the topics so that I can be of help and of service to all of you guys. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe on your way out if you enjoyed this video, and give it a thumbs up if you want to see more amazing content just like this one. That's all I got. I will see you on tomorrow's video. Bye.